Should we buy or sell Tractor Supply? First off, read this disclaimer carefully and do your good deed of today by liking and subscribing. So we go here to the other themes, and we have one called farming. 45-ish% from the 52-week low and the -9% pullback. So here we have Tractor Supply. 80% from the 52-week low and at 52-week highs. So here is the company's website. So here you can see that you can get a bunch of different things here. It's outdoor power stuff, farm and ranch stuff, pets, livestock, sporting goods, home goods. So it is diversified. But it is within that whole outside theme. Okay, so let's jump into the charts, weekly data points, and we did have some very nice time cycles. Rise, decline, rise, decline, rise, decline, rise, and we haven't seen anything close to a decline at this point. The bulls have been ferocious. I wouldn't be surprised if a meaningful part of this rally has also been short covering. Now, that's something you just have to be aware of, because when we find like a very interesting bearish opportunity and then you see that, well, it went up a lot more, that doesn't mean that it went up because of bulls, exclusively bulls. It could very well be that you have some bears that it had to cover, but it's when the final bear covers that is when you can have the perfect short. Yeah, so the bulls here are, in control, but they have pushed it very far. Looking at the daily data points, we see the same thing. When we look at, these indicators. Looking at, the MACD, we have seen an absolutely historic reading. The momentum was extreme to the upside. We are seeing some decline here in momentum, from a ridiculous level. Accumulation still looking strong. Looking at the RSI and the PPO distance from the 20, 50, 100, and 200 week moving average, we are at levels that have triggered pullbacks in the past. Like here we had a pullback, here we had a pullback, here as well we did have a pullback. When we go to the daily data points, when we look here at the MACD, it's pushed into a region that has triggered some significant pullback here in the past. So like back here we had this MACD, then we did actually go higher. But this was also from that lockdown low, so the context is definitively a bit different here than what we have here. Looking at the PPOs, there's been quite a few times in the past where this level has triggered pullbacks than further gains for the bulls. So that's just Looking at accumulation distribution, this latest push here was not corroborated. So we did not make a higher high here on accumulation. So there is some bearish divergence. Looking at correlations, 95% with the S&P 500, 91% with the agribusiness ETF, the MU, and then 59% with the agriculture ETF, DBA. Then -74% with the dollar index. Then we have short-term, daily data points, 80% with the S&P, 74% with the MU, 66% with the agriculture ETF, and 75% here with the dollar index. So long-term, it's negative with the dollar index, and short-term, positive. And you can see here how the correlations have differed over time. Looking at the seasonality, over the last 5 years, December is the weakest month. November is very strong. Last 10 years, December is the weakest month. That's interesting for us. And then over the last 20 years, December is the weakest of all months. That substantially increases the probability that we will see a pullback. Not guaranteed, of course, but given that it literally is the weakest month, that is likely to spook the bulls to an extent. We have broken out above the trend channel. If we look here at SACs, number 1 buy, D value, F growth, F momentum. Industry rank, top 41%, but they have a very broad category of retail miscellaneous. 26 billions market cap and around the 1-ish% dividend. Looking at what the insiders are doing, a bunch of selling. Here we have some buying, selling, buy, sell. So it seems like we are dominated here by sellers. So the insiders clearly think that this is a great way to sell the stock. So that's bearish. Looking here at the consensus estimates. So the average price target is minus 4% below the current stock price. The highest price target is 8% above, and then the lowest target is 39% below the current stock price. So if we sum up here, I think that looking at the technicals, this is extreme bullish euphoria. It's ridiculous. The vast majority of times where we have had these kinds of technical readings, it has resulted in a pullback. That is, of course, bearish. Looking at the seasonality, it was very bearish. Well, it was at least, the fact is, December is the weakest month. That is beneficial for the bears. The fundamentals, they were overall, it was bearish. The insiders are selling more than they are buying, so they clearly look at the stock price and they think to themselves, this is a time to sell, not buy. And no one knows the company more than the insiders. When we look here at the consensus estimates, the analysts, they are very clear in their message. So yes, taking it all together, there are simply far more reasons to be bearish on tractor supply than bullish. So could it go higher than it is now? It is possible, but that is most likely going to be the result of some short covering maybe, because the risk for a bearish position would be that there are some big bears out there that have bitten over more than they can chew and that they panic. That's the only risk here, I think, at this point, because the overall message is so clearly bearish. But silly bears can create problems for the more serious bears.